If I can affect other people emotionally, like that's the field goal. Or I don't know why I used a sports reference just now, but if I can make you cry or I can make you have a smile on your face or whatever, then it's like, ugh, yeah, that feels really great. So when I was in grad school, my dad had passed, my nephew had been born, so I was thinking a lot about, life ending and new life and legacy. I think the BP oil spill had just happened, so there's all these images of animals covered in oil, and I've got a soft spot for nature and for animals, and just thinking about the legacy of what future generations of humans are going to inherit. And so I wanted to make work about that, and I wanted you to be concerned and bothered about the way we treat the environment. And I was doing things like hybridizing humans and amphibians because amphibians are one of the first creatures to show signs of being affected by climate change because their skin is permeable. And so I was hybridizing humans and amphibians, and I was just getting called creepy all the time. But I thought, well, good, this is what we're doing. And I think that's why I was in your face about it, like aggressive about it during certain parts of my career. Also, I live in this space, just kind of maybe dark and sad to say, of sadness a little bit. Like, I'm a happy guy, but I grew up in a way where I kind of was isolated a lot by my own choice. And I think that had me in a space of being sad. And so I gravitate a little bit towards those feelings. And when I have those feelings when I'm working, they feel like I'm at home in a way. That sounds very dark. I mean, that's what I did when I was alone, is I was drawing in my room and doing the drawing, repeating the drawing. Practice makes perfect. I just got good at what I was doing by myself. I grew up gardening. I grew up with a grandmother and a great grandmother and a mom that gardened, and I just sort of took that on. I think it's just my love of nature, my love of gardening and plants, but that notion of being concerned about the environment and how we treat it is always there. That's like an underlying component of it. And with the flowers specifically, that's even more of a dilution of the animals. The flowers that are going to be in the shop are just more about that beauty and me finding the beauty in nature. That would be a wonderful feeling. Like I was saying, my granddad was always sort of this, champion of the underdog. So whoever that may be in society or culture at the time, it was just something that kind of was instilled in us, and there's always going to be that. So even if the environment is not that. And I fit into other, marginalized demographics that I certainly care about, and there are people in that community that I really care about, and there's plenty on the news to be upset about and to want to make work about. If I can create like an ambiguity and a beauty in my work that still has a little bit of, making you feel a little bit concerned or a little bit curious about it. I always kind of say that I want my work to be alluring, but also maybe a little unsettling. And then people are going to kind of bring whatever they want to it, instead of me having to kind of beat them over the head with what I wanted them to get out of it. I've stood behind people at an opening who didn't know I was behind them, and they were like, this guy needs help. I enjoy that. All I really want to do is affect people have them have a response. And nowadays it's much less in a, like I said, a very jarring way. Now it's more about, I just want you to experience it, find some beauty in it, and then maybe question a little bit like what's actually happening. I think honestly it's a high.
Yeah.
It's going back to those days when I was feeling that way and I was in that space mentally and emotionally. And then when I'm making the work, especially if I'm listening maybe to sad music or something, it makes me feel things. And that is like a really great feeling. In a twisted way, all of this dark energy or dark subject matter makes me feel good.